Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. I'm your host, Dean. Today's special featured guest and a dear friend of mine is Stu Pollak. Stu's been an educator for 25 years. He's worked as an elementary school teacher, a math department chairperson, an assistant principal, and a principal currently. This summer, Stu started his 13th year as an elementary school principal. He is an educator who is extremely passionate about school leadership. He loves talking about the art of leadership, its imperative yet underrated role in the public school. Stu holds an unwavering philosophy of how we should lead adults and educate and parent children. Much of his mindset bucks conventional wisdom and widely held assumptions. He balances these principles with an open mind and acceptance of other people's beliefs. This is one of his ideas of leadership. Stu is one of two Suffolk County, Long Island, New York representatives on the School Administrators Association of New York Board of Directors. In this role, he tries to make contributions to the betterment of New York's public schools and school leaders throughout the state. Stu enjoys nothing more than spending time with his wife and 3 children. You can follow his professional career at his Twitter account at Principal Pollak. Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, Stu.
Thanks, Dean. This is fun. I'm a little nervous. When you said superstar athlete, I figured that could be me, but I guess far from it.
Well, this is about, just keeping it light, enjoying, having fun here in my home studio. And, for years, you and I have the same stomping ground that we hang out and we kibitz all the time. We talk about many things, and whether it be, you have a tremendous diverse background besides your educational career, whether it be talking about sports, your children, what they're doing, politics, just everything. And I'll never forget that my daughter, Allison,
Oh, that's right.
decided to go back, 2-3 years ago, go back to graduate school in education. And when it was time for her to become a teacher, I'll never forget those days that we kibitzed in Starbucks here in Setauket, which I don't know if you've listened to some of my other shows.
I have.
Wherever I know I've traveled, I don't know what it's been for you and your family, but wherever I've traveled around the world, and we tell people that we're from Setauket, Long Island, 99% of the time people say they never heard of Setauket.
Yeah, I tell them it's between Stony Brook and Port Jefferson.
Right. So we've had some great times, and what's so unique about this show is I'm going to introduce you now to a dynamite lady that's a great part of this show as we go over to the UK. We're going to bring in Ria Bowe. Ria, I want you to meet Stu. Ria is the exclusive correspondent for the Dean Blechman Show. Ria, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us, Stu.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Ria. Thank you. It's nice to hear my headset. I've listened to a couple of the shows, and you really bring a wonderful element along with your lovely British accent.
You're very kind, darling. I take checks, so it's all good to go.
That's okay. All you have to do is keep calling me darling, and I'm good.
Okay, no, I'll work on that. Okay, back to you, Dean.
You mentioned the word darling, that she could call you darling, okay? She's the only woman that my wife allows to call me darling. There's no other woman that's allowed to do that except Ria.
Well, I hope I didn't get in trouble yet for this when I played this for my wife, Lisa.
But what's so unique, I don't know if you've listened to some of the shows, Stu, but as we started to develop the format of the show, what is so unique about it that you don't see in any other shows is how we're able to bring different countries and different cultures. And the dynamics besides Rhea having just a unbelievable voice. I mean, we're going to have a contest one day with our listening audience. Who's their favorite voice, Rhea or Dean?
Oh boy.
But you know that we're able.
Well, for now, I'll say Rhea. Sorry, Dean.
Okay. But what's so unique about our show is, and I don't see it anywhere out there, is how Rhea and I, have grown up in such different cultures, and that only 2 weeks of doing shows, how we're able to bring that over here to America, her European culture, and my New York style that we have over to Europe.
Well, yeah. Well, it's always that's always so interesting in today's technological advances, so to speak. Especially with podcasts such as this, you're just bringing people together over technology. It's funny because working in the schools, that there's kind of a yin and yang to this type of technology. We deal with a lot of issues like bullying and whatnot on social media, yet it also brings people together. So it has its pitfalls, but it has some really wonderful aspects that make the world better. But it's funny. I just want to go back to something, because we met at Starbucks, and that's basically where we do most of our socializing. Dean is like the mayor over there at Starbucks. I mean, he's talking to anybody and everybody who crosses his path. And I'm wondering if he remembers the first time we interacted. And I remember seeing you, Dean, and you used to sit there, read the paper, talk to people, and I'd be on my way to work, and I'm like, oh, I want to be that guy. Just sitting there, not to diminish. I know you've had a very successful business, and I'm sure you work very, very hard, and I don't mean to diminish that at all. But I mean, when it's 7 a.m. and you're getting your coffee, and you're just like, oh boy, I got a whole day ahead of me. It looks pretty good. But the first time we interacted, I think I was did a stop on my way to a Mets game, and I had my son, who's 19 now, and at the time he was probably 9, because I remember we were going to a game back when the Mets were really good in 2006, and you just walked over to us and started talking. You started talking to my son, actually. You're like, oh, you love the Mets, and at the time he just loved the Mets. And then you started telling us about your association with Barry Bonds, and then we just started talking. And then every single time I came in, you'd be like, "How about those Mets?" And that was fun. And then after that, we just always found something to talk about. And I also found it. Your name, I remember. You have your nephew Keith.
Okay.
I was his camp counselor when he was going into 8th grade. And we used to travel all across the eastern seaboard, and went to Busch Gardens in Virginia, Washington, D.C. And I mentioned that to you way back then. I don't know if you remember. And I thought he was your son. I said, oh, is your son Keith Blechman? And you said, no, he's my nephew. And I see him on Facebook all the time. Doing really well.
What's amazing, Stu, is that nephew of mine, Keith Blechman, is now today Dr. Keith
I know.
Blechman.
I see it.
And he's one of the most renowned reconstructive plastic surgeons in the world. His practice is on Park Avenue in New York. So I'm giving a little bit of a plug. I love my nephew dearly.
Well, I have to tell you, I remember as an 8th grader, he was just a great, great kid. Very, very kind, very nice, funny, great kid. I remember almost every kid I interact with, and that's pretty much why I'm in the kid business. So.
Well, thank you. I mentioned the different cultures of Rhea and I, her being in the UK, by the way. She's about 50 miles from London. Mm-hmm. She's in a town called Milton Keynes. I don't know if you've spent much time in London.
When I was in 6th grade, so I turned 11, left at 10, right after the 5th grade. We actually spent a year living in the Netherlands. My father who's an electrical engineer, did a lot of government contract work, got some position, worked on some international project that was based in The Hague, in Holland. And when my parents, they did it right. We were there for 1 year and we did a lot of traveling through Europe. We actually hit London about 3 times. And I have really great memories, although there are no 10, 11-year-olds memories. So I'd love to go back. So,
well, talking about cultures, Rhea always puts me on the spot during these shows, and I break a sweat. And once again, she's getting used to Yiddish words. You can't imagine how many times that she makes me schwitz on these shows. But she heard a word earlier about that you and I kibitz, and I'm going to put her on the spot right now. Let's go over to Rhea. Rhea, do you know what the word kibitz is? Kibitz, Rhea.
At a guess, I would say it's to chat with Dean.
Wow. Pretty good, Rhea.
yeah.
It's really about when Stu and I kibitz, and he talks about all the people that I speak to or people that come to me. We basically chat, friendly advice, and conversation. That's what it is. You're getting good. Getting good, Rhea.
Yeah, I would imagine most people would guess. I've heard you use it in context before. So, to kibitz. Yeah, I understand what it means. Is kind of keeping it light and just chatting about the day, as it were.
Well, I also want to introduce you right here by my side, my right-hand man and dear friend who inspires me every day. I want to introduce you to Anthony Lacauzi. He is the senior correspondent for the Dean Blechman Show and handles all the technical and sound challenges that we have day to day. So meet Stu.
How's it going, Stu? Thanks for coming to the show. I heard a lot about you.
Thank you, Anthony. It's good to meet you.
Likewise.
Just make me sound good.
So, big topic today is education. And you and I have spoken many times on this topic with your diverse background. And obviously, myself going through as a child, personally through my school years and then through college, seeing my children go through their school years, speaking to many other people, I just want to give, leading up to a big part of this show is leadership. Mm-hmm. And I just want to give my 2 cents, my experience. In my opinion, the principal is probably, the most important job in an educational organization. It's not to say that teachers aren't important. They are extremely vital teachers. But how I see it is a great principal will help to develop great teachers, and a weak principal will do the opposite. I find what I've experienced that they will, many times, principals will push great teachers out of schools, although most of the time, Stu, I find it could be unintentionally, in that bad leaders tend to drive away great talent, and that I find a great teacher can be even better with a great principal. So with that opening, that's my feeling.
Well, I guess I'm done. I have nothing left to say. Why should I say anything after that? But thank you for the recognition, because it's a profession I'm passionate about. I love it. It's interesting when I joked before about watching you years ago, being like, "Oh, I want to be that guy." I would never really say that now.
I gotta interrupt you just for a minute, because you're killing me here. You realize after this show, Rhea is asking for a raise and insisting on first-class travel accommodations to the Dean Blechman Show in the future.
Keep pushing, Rhea. He tells me how vital you are to the show. He's you're irreplaceable. So you have a lot of leverage in negotiations. And I also happen to be, we're unionized in schools, and as a principal, I'm actually president of my principals union, which I'll be happy to talk about too a little bit later. But it's funny because being the principal, people don't realize how difficult a job it could be. It is, especially the first 4 or 5 years. When I was, like I said, when I was joking about you kind of, sitting at Starbucks, reading the paper, and I was off to work. I mean, it was an incredible, stressful time in my life because it is, you are being pulled and pushed from every single direction. And a lot of times, you're in the middle of opposite perspectives between teachers or teacher and parent, or I mean, the kids are the easy part. And I have this tendency, probably get it from my mother, of I want to make everybody happy, but I also have an obligation not to sacrifice the work and the hard decision making that comes in with it. So I found that very, very stressful. And I actually hated the job for a couple of years. And if I didn't have incredible people around me, which is a big part of my whole philosophy of leadership, is nurturing and surrounding yourself with good people who know more than you, then I don't even know if I would have made it. But somewhere along the line, it shifted to experience is a wonderful thing. And all of a sudden, I love the job. I love it. I love the people. I love the children. I love the parents, the community. And elementary school is ideal for someone like me because I serve my community. 400 kids, about 300 and some odd families, and 13 years, which means the kids seniors this year were my first kindergarten class. So those connections make it wonderful. And that leadership aspect that you talked about is I'm always learning, affects every aspect. So it does affect teachers, but also affects parents, affects kids. All of it affects kids. If it doesn't ultimately affect what's going on in the classroom, it's not even worth doing. But I'm finding also now, the leading parents to also guide them, is one of my favorite parts of the job now.
Wow. I just want to say that your passion comes through unbelievable. I can't imagine your long, illustrious career that you can't. It's impossible to be good at what you do unless you love children and love teachers. I mean, I look at myself here with this new career. I wake up every day with fire and adrenaline. That you mentioned about meeting me to talk at Starbucks and how people gravitate to me, or I give myself to other people and always give people an opportunity to talk to me. I mean, now I've got this platform to be global all around the world, do what I do in Starbucks right here, get to be with Anthony and a beautiful chick in the UK, Rhea Bow. I mean, unbelievable.
Easy, Tiger.
Well, it's funny because one of the things that's part of how I function, and I try and teach this to my own children, is you got to create your own opportunities, and that's what you've done, Dean, with this. It's you're going, what I don't want to just do nothing. I got to do something. And my son, who's just finished his freshman year of college, is about to go back for a sophomore year. And Dean, I've spoken to you this before. He's a film student. He's an aspiring filmmaker. He's done some incredible work for his age. And
I'd love you to spend time on it. It's so inspiring about what your son's doing these days.
I'll definitely Yeah, I definitely want to expand on that, but what my message to him is about, it's a balancing act between enjoying what you're doing in the moment, planning for your future. And when I say planning for your future, for someone like him who's in a creative industry, is to take advantage of opportunities. And what I love about the school he goes to a brand new film school, brand new. As a matter of fact, he's in the second freshman class. They have under 100 kids. The administration there is amazing. They know all of us. The president of the school knows all of us. The campus is on a movie studio lot right in downtown Los Angeles, and they basically try and have these kids create opportunity for themselves. I mean, entrepreneurship is part of their curriculum, and what I love about this school, and this ties into me as an educator, is that they teach the way I think schools should be. Every class is connected to creating, or analyzing or thinking about story, which is what movie making is about. The technical aspect of it, they're learning that as well. But they always see how, he'll sit there. We'll watch movies and go, look how visually how the visual storytelling here. And I would never notice that without him. And they're very involved with the families. So it's an incredible learning experience. But in the end, he has to make his own opportunities, because you got to learn how to enjoy that. So I connect that to what you're doing. I connect it to what I try and do as a principal with teachers, and I'd love to talk about that leadership aspect as well, because I agree with everything that you said, and you said some things that really resonated with me, which is why I appreciate your words so much.
Well, I want to make sure I'm on the record very carefully here. I don't want to get a bunch of emails and text messages and phone calls. I want to make it very clear that what I said earlier, how valuable and how important teachers are.
Oh my gosh, without a doubt.
I mean, you're here, you're a principal, but teachers, listen, I see what my daughter goes through. I see what I went through going through school. My mother told a story on her show. I don't know if you heard about how someone was calling me when I was younger, and she couldn't believe it, that it was my social studies teacher, that how close I got with my teachers. So teachers are extremely important and valuable.
Well, let me tell you, the best principals understand that their success is based on the teaching staff. My objective, one of my objectives for teachers is to kind of buffer them from the nonsense. And there's so much political and institutional nonsense that we deal with, and I have to make sure it doesn't get into the classroom so that teachers could do their best work. And I know without a doubt that when people tell me when people tell me what a wonderful school I have, that it's the teachers that make it that way. But I know that I'm part of that school, and I know the things I do to try and make it the environment where they want to be and where they love and they push themselves. I like to push them a little out of their comfort zone, but they know that. And if I push too far, then I pull back. I also believe that it's a collegial, collaborative environment. We're all learning together. So what you're saying is very, very true. I just have a role in the school. My school is the leader. Technically, I'm their supervisor, probably the part of the job I'm most uncomfortable with. But make no bones about it. Any principal who thinks it's about them is not doing the job well. So
wow, let's bring Ria into this conversation. Let's go over to the UK. Ria, come on in, Ria.
Okay, guys, no problem. I'm listening contently, and I'm just thinking, wow, Stu, I really understand the magnitude of the job you do, and respect to you, because here in the UK, The schooling system, the education system really isn't going well at all. And I would like to ask you a couple of questions. The first one, if you could just summarize, what do you think that makes a good leader?
Well, um, that's a really broad question. And I have this friend of mine who's also an educator, passionate. We see eye to eye. And I'll be like, hey, I got the fire pit going. And then 4 hours later, we're still sitting there and having a nightcap. So this is a long question to answer, but I'll try and keep it concise. The best definition I heard of leadership was to be the person to take someone or a team from one place to another, presumably for the better, that they wouldn't be able to get there without you. So that's what I always think about. And what do I need to do to make that happen? But what's more important than that happening, going from point A to point B, is to create the conditions so that they want to go from point A to point B, so that it's intrinsic, which is a huge part of my philosophical belief about the way we treat each other and the way I lead and the way I talk to my own children at home and the kids at my school, is to make their motives intrinsic. And how I get there, there's a variety of ways, and a lot of it I learn along the way. And sometimes it'll be after the fact, or I just function the way I function, and the next thing I know, it's like, wow, look where we are right now. So like, for example, let me give you an example, if that's all right.
Surely, absolutely.
Because I could ramble about this. You'll have to just feel free to interrupt anytime if I'm just going on and on. Trust me, my wife right now, when she's listening to this is the point where she may be rolling her eyes a bit, like, oh, shut up already.
Interesting, Ree. You're learning something here about Stu. Matter of fact, he's the first guest. He's the first guest that was constantly texting me early this morning on how he could dress. What's the dress code? If it's okay for him to dress down, if there's going to be video on here. And obviously the show is just audio. So he's bringing up his wife, and he's talking about what his wife might be saying. So here's a good intro, because I've let it out. I've brought up my wife many times on many of these shows that you were worried about how you were going to dress today. That I don't have to worry about that anymore. I used to put a jacket and tie on for 30 years. I went to work every day, jacket and tie. Now I could dress however I want. And even on yesterday's show by Zach and Cody Vachinsky, they mentioned if they were working on a house for me, what type of house they would make for me with glass windows and walking around however I want to walk around. But you brought up the wife. Well, then I have to topic. So my wife Sharon.
Yeah,
she dressed me every day until I did the radio show.
I heard that on one of your other shows. Yeah, I'm in a t-shirt and a hat and my flip-flops, which is my standard dress when over the summer when I'm not at work. Although really at work over the summer is very relaxed, so I may have a collared shirt on, but the shorts are still there. And I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt, which my wife would love for me to get rid of, but it's from one of my favorite movies, The Big Lebowski. Which movies are a huge part of my life, personal life with my son. It's a major connection. But since I mentioned my wife, please, because she will be listening, and this is exactly how I feel. I mean, my wife is the best. She supports everything I do. I mean, certainly those early years as a principalship, she knows. I mean, it was painful at times. The stress level, the hours to put in, and she just kept helping me push along, and whatever decisions I make, she's there. It's like it's funny. I have this shirt on that you may have seen when I walked into Starbucks one day. It says, "I love my awesome wife."
Yep.
People are like, "Oh, what? You got that free?" I go, "No, I bought this myself. I actually got a free drink at Starbucks for it." The barista was like, I got to give you a free drink for that shirt. So, but then a couple of my friends said, you're making us all look bad. I go, just go on Amazon and buy one for yourself then. True. Shout out to Lisa because, it's indescribable.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, the only people that are going to see how you dress today is all our listeners, because the picture that we took earlier will be on the Dean Blechman Show Instagram page. That, once again, I want all our audience, all our listeners to constantly please come to the Dean Blechman Show Instagram page.
Sure. And
all in studio guests will be very active with that page.
And I'm very cool with that, because one of the things I do enjoy about my job is there's the way I do it is I like people to know I'm just a real person. I mean, there are people who are intimidated to come into the principal's office, parents, and I go, what's the problem? You know what I mean? I'm just a regular guy with kids of my own, and I'm kind of glad my choice of attire today.
Rhea and Anthony, Stu had mentioned that if I don't control this show, he's going to keep going on and rambling. And I'm telling you, Stu Pollak, I love him. He could do a 4 or 5 hour show today.
I'll do it. I'll be a guest host if you ever.
So you're gonna come back, but let me tell you something that everything about this show is about motivating, educational, inspiring, and your qualities define all of that, Stu Pollak.
Thank you. That's really
so. Good. I'm gonna bring it back over to the UK, over to Rhea. Rhea, what else do you have to say to Stu?
Okay, guys. As I sit and listen to you, Stu, you don't know me, I don't know you, etc. I think when you say, when I asked you about the leadership qualities, you as the guy or a leader could transport a group of people from A to B successfully. And I'm thinking, what is that? And then as I listen to you more, I realize what that is. I think you're probably that centerpiece of the jigsaw that creates the synergy for the whole team to resonate. Because I think they will probably look at you and go, hey, do you know what? I think this guy really cares, and that matters.
Wow,
that's.
Are you like keeping a transcript so I can write that down? I mean, that was that really what you said is really the goal.
Wow.
Because
now the raise went even higher now.
She nailed it. Well, that's what you described, which I've never used those words before. The centerpiece of the jigsaw. I mean, that's what I strive to do. That's what I do see my role. Let me give you an example of what I mean, and I'll do it from an instructional standpoint. Okay, because in schools, there's obviously the instruction goes in the classroom. There's social emotional behaviors of children, and there's a sense of community that you want to feel in the school. That's all of those things. But from an instructional standpoint, it'll be a very straightforward kind of thing. So I have this very good friend who has a tremendous ability to do professional development for teachers, teaching teachers basically. And she was out of the game for a while because she was a teacher, classroom teacher, and she was out of the game for a while, had her kid. She calls me up and she asks me about, okay, so what's new and current in education? And I'm like, she goes, I have a job interview tomorrow. I go, tomorrow you have a job interview and you want me to tell you what's been going on for the last 3 years. And okay, so here it is, A, B, C, and D, do your best. Good luck on your interview. And then as we're talking, I said, oh, wait, Michelle, I just have, I have this really great idea. Why don't you use your professional development skills, come to my school, work for free. We won't pay you, but you get to hone your skills in the current trends in education. And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. And I went to my supervisor who said, hey, if it's free, let's bring her in and see what happens. She's masterful, right? So the teachers, they loved her. They loved her. They took to what she said. She would push them. They would say something and she would say, well, no, that's completely wrong. And they would eat it up. So what I did after that was eventually we have to pay her. So, and I don't hold purse strings. I'm middle management, I don't make those decisions, but I could advocate. So I went to my assistant superintendent who saw her in action, said yes. Make a long story short, she starts working as a consultant for the school, and she is pushing teachers in transforming how they teach reading and writing. Reading and writing, most important things we teach in the elementary school, without a doubt. And these were good teachers to begin with, very, very good teachers to begin with. But what we were asking them to do, when I say we, I'm talking about Michelle and I. Me as the leader, Michelle is the teacher of the teachers, is work really, really hard. Push them out of their comfort zone. Do something completely different. So my job as the principal is to help set the conditions so they buy into it and love it. And that is what happened, and it's continuously happening as she's coming back again this year. And it's a process. You also have to have patience because it takes time. And then when they get frustrated, they come to me, and that's what I want. If they're frustrated, they have to be able to come to me with comfort, knowing that I'm not going to judge them. And I say, and then I just narrow it down to the minimal. You boil it down to the most concentrated notion. So when they're struggling with this new way of teaching writing, and they're going, I'm not getting it. It's hard. I go, wait a second. Would you say you're a better writing teacher than you were, even though you're not doing everything being asked? Yes. Are your kids writing better than they ever have? They stop and think, and they go, yeah. I said, then what are you worried about? You're just going to keep getting better at it. And then they feel better and they leave the room. And over the years, relationships are built. One of the reasons why I couldn't stand my first couple of years, why it was so hard for me, because I wanted then what I have now. And I had to tell myself that's impossible. They have to take time to trust me. They have to take time to make sure that I'm not one of these school administrators who's breathing down their neck or going to give them a hard time. And once I realized that that's going to take time, I started to relax and just be able to live in the moment. And then 13 years now, they'll do whatever I believe in because they believe in me. And at the same time, if they don't want to do it, they'll tell me. And I'll be like, okay, let's talk about it. And my mind could easily be changed if people give me a good argument.
Wow, that's something. Rhea, anything else?
No, not really. I'm just listening. I'm just loving the passion, really. And it's lovely that the right guy is in the right job, because there's a lot of people that aren't. And again, it's something else that matters. How many people work in a job that they're not passionate about and they don't really care about, but you love what you're doing. And I love anybody that loves what they're doing and making a difference. So hats off to you, Mr. Pollak.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. It grew to this. Though. I'll say that.
Now, Stu, I don't think any of your children chose the path of education.
Well, considering that my youngest are 12 and 14, their side of education is going to school, and of course my son who lives in Los Angeles is, we got lucky with him because when he was in 5th grade, he knew he loved making videos, making movies, and we realized he was good at it, and what's fascinating when I think of my own children, again, and connected to my job, is I try and raise my children, or at least I raise my children a certain way, and I profess that on the job. And one of the beauties of the job I mentioned before about guiding parents is when I was a principal, my oldest was in 2nd grade. I had a toddler in diapers and an infant. And I really, all my advice and guidance to parents was theoretical, very little practical stuff. And I didn't have the credibility. And that was another reason why it was so stressful. Once my kids started entering school and I was now one of them, the parents, and I look at them, I go, listen, my wife's a school psychologist. I'm a principal. Neither of us know what we're doing at home. Then all of a sudden they'd relax. I go, we'll figure this out together kind of thing. But now that my daughter, my youngest, is out of elementary school, they come to me. The parents come to me for advice. I feel like I could say whatever I want. I mean, I have to be careful.
So let's stay on that word advice. So for the listening audience, what advice do you have for the young generation now, getting out of high school, going to college, many of them pursuing education, careers? What advice do you have for all our listeners, parents, students, people that are pursuing a career in education? What is your advice to them?
In education, or just in general?
In general,
Because
both.
well, as a parent, and like I said, I'll have parents in my office. I go, look, I'm talking to parent, right? That kind of thing. Not as principal to parent. When you say education, to me, that's anything and everything kids want to do, because whether it's formal education in school or whether it's life lessons, I mean, like Anthony over here, I know that I don't know what your school history is, but you said you were into engineering and recording in the music industry. Probably most of that learning happened on the job, where you had a mentor, and to me that's just as valuable as anything you learn in school. So from my own experience, and where I fell into education by accident. Actually, the reason why was because I was a math major at Stony Brook and I couldn't pass a couple of classes, and education courses back then were nonsense, really, and I needed to bring up my GPA. So I said, all right, I'll go into teaching. The education program at school. But anyway, it's simply you gotta let your kids follow whatever passion and they have, and help them, guide them towards something that they love. When I was in college, and my parents, they absolutely meant well, and they did what they felt was the right thing, and probably was the right thing to a certain degree. I wanted to be a theater major. I loved acting in community theater and stuff. And they said, listen, you're not going to get a job, so you got to pick something secure. And they did great. They after college, they said they'll support me as long as I want to pursue it. But each generation, you kind of learn from the next, you know what I mean? So I said, my son started loving the creative world, music and art and that kind of stuff. I go, don't worry about what kind of jobs are out there. Just do it, but do it with everything you have. Everything you have. Right? So at Ward Melville High School, he hated math. I said, just play the game. You got to get a grade on math so you can get into the college of choice. Don't get yourself short. Do the best you can. I don't really care, what your grade is, whatever, because grades to me are a hoax. That's another whole conversation.
Boy, I wish you were there when I was growing up. It's all
Well, that's because the grades take you away from the learning experience. You start focusing on, I just got to get a B or a C or whatever, or an A or whatever, and there's no appreciation for what you're learning. You're just trying to achieve something instead of enjoy the journey of learning. But when his art and music classes, I said, listen, just put everything you got into it, and don't slack off. This is your passion, your drive, and so that's where he is. And you learn along the way, because my middle guy, my 14-year-old is, he's not really he doesn't have that for anything, but it's like he's normal 14-year-old. So anyway, so that would be my advice to parents. Let your kids follow a passion. Not necessarily be a jack of all trades, doing everything. That advice can only be based on my own success as a parent, but for kids, same thing, what we're experiencing with Jordan really taught us how to, the value of nurturing that. And then what we're experiencing with our other children, who are much younger, is helping them find that thing. And that's not always easy, but parents are there to guide. They have to figure it out. Kids have to figure it out, but you have to be there to guide and help give them the opportunity. But specifically for kids going into education, look, if it's their passion, then they got to keep going for it. The job market is opening up slightly, but for years it was terrible, where I would probably advise them, you got to prioritize. Like, if you absolutely have to stay on Long Island, find out why you want to be a teacher. What is that thing in you that wants to be a teacher? And explore maybe other ways of providing service to children or communities if you need to get a job within the next few years. Right. You know what I mean? And maybe you'll have your teaching certification, and hopefully
wow.
Yeah. But like explore other ways that you could serve.
That's great, Stu. We're going to, at this point in the show, if there's any guest that I'm glad to have with me today, it's someone that's been a teacher.
Thank you.
An assistant principal, and now a principal, because now we're going to get some fun.
Okay,
good. And be challenged, because at this part of the show, we now we go over to Rhea to do all kinds of stuff, like with her Let's Question It segment, her ditties, on the spot.
Okay.
And obviously, what's exciting about the Dean Blechman show is Rhea, as our exclusive correspondent, always brings some interesting news that you don't hear in the traditional media.
Oh, okay.
So Rhea Bo, come on in.
Hi guys, lovely listening to you, Stu. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I'm going to sigh through this because time has gone by.
Wow.
So we're just going to start off with the ditties just to change the mood. We're going to take you out of the hotspot, Stu, for a little while.
Fine.
Okay, according to New York City Office of Emergency Management, the last hurricane to pass directly over the city was in 1821. The storm surge was so high that the city was flooded up to Canal Street. And did you know Hog Island, a 1-mile island north of Rockaway Beach, was never seen again after the hurricane of 1893? And up until 1957, the New York City used a pneumatic mail tube system that was used to connect 23 post offices across 27 miles. At one point, it was moving 97,000 letters a day.
Wow.
And finally, on November the 28th, 2012, not a single murder, shooting, stabbing, or incident of violent crime in New York City was reported for the first time on record.
Wow.
So it's just a few ditties for you. Okay, we're going to go over to guess the accent, okay, guys?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a US accent. Are you ready?
Sure.
Stu, I need your help here.
Okay. Oh, wait, is this for you or for me?
No, we're getting to a point of the show where I schwitz. I break a sweat every time with. I need your help, big time.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's an open floor. Discuss amongst yourselves. But here is the first U.S. accent. We want to know where he's from. Here it comes, guys. Ears open.
One of my buddies was telling me today about this, this accent thing. He said, "Hey, Bobby, man, you should go on there. You got a great accent." So I've been told I have a great accent. To me, honestly, I don't think I got any accents at all.
What do you think?
To me, it sounds like one of Anthony's uncles I spoke to the other day.
I mean, it's hard to, it's not my area of expertise. I mean, there definitely was some Brooklyn, Long Island kind of thing.
Take a wild guess.
But then I heard a little bit of Western New York in there from my people. I know a lot of people across the state. But
that's New Hampshire in there. There's a little New Hampshire in there, I think.
So we've got a New Hampshire.
Maybe a mix. New Hampshire, New York mix. It wasn't pure New York.
No.
Yeah.
You want it again, or shall I tell you?
Yeah, one more time.
Here we go again, then.
One of my buddies was telling me today about this, this accent thing. He said, "Hey, Bobby, man, you should go on there. You got a great accent." So I've been told I have a great accent. To me, honestly, I don't think I got any accents at all.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that is New York.
It's kind of Boston-esque, New Hampshire, somewhere up there, I think.
I'll go with Anthony.
I don't know who it is or where it's from.
So we got New Hampshire around there.
New England. I'll broaden it.
I agree. I agree somewhere up in New England, Rhea.
Okay. It is Chicago.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. You know,
Chicago.
That's where there's
Wow.
where I thought of Western
You
New
said
York,
Western
New
New
York,
Wow.
which it sounded like a couple of people I knew from Rochester and Buffalo, and it is closer to Chicago.
Rhea, that was a great one.
Good. I'm glad. I
You got
listened
another
to
one?
it and
'Cause
I
that's
thought
fun.
he
Huh?
sounds Chicago.
Stu just said, "This is fun, Rhea. Do you have another one for him?"
The next one is an English accent. Don't worry, I'm not expecting miracles, but I'm trying to bring balance. So here is an English one. Have a listen to this one, okay? Ready?
Topic.
Let's talk about going to McDonald's.
McDonald.
McDonald's is a really nice place to eat.
They do chicken, they do beef, they do pork.
I like a cheeseburger.
Oh, McChicken sandwich I like.
Where is that from?
That's out of the country.
I'm a provincial New Yorker. There's, Long Island, there's New York City, and then there's the rest of the world. So I couldn't even tell you.
Anthony, where out of the country is that?
Ireland, maybe? Is that Ireland? Somewhere near
No.
Ireland?
Okay. No, I'm gonna side through it because of the time. It's from Birmingham, which is the mid-country of the UK. Okay?
Wow.
I'll tell you that
was
when
Birmingham.
we were just away on vacation in Mexico, and I was at the swim bar, and my back was to this guy, and he sounded just like Ringo Starr, and I'm like, "Oh, you're from Liverpool. That's an easy one, I guess." But yeah, he was. I love that accent.
Moving on, Rhea.
Okay, here we go. Guess the celeb. Here it comes. Okay.
Hamburgers.
Oh, come
Any
on.
ideas?
Samuel Jackson. That's Pulp Fiction. Come on. I told you.
Nailed it. That was an easy one.
I told
Come
you
on.
I love movies. Come on.
Okay, no, that's fine. You got it. But up till now, it's not been that successful at all.
Stu, I've said on previous shows that I get, after every show, I get calls from my daughter Allison that Rhea's killing us. That too difficult with her.
Nah.
With her quizzes.
I had her at ham, not even hamburgers. I knew exactly what that was.
Yeah, but I don't know if the guys did though.
I didn't know who. It
I'm
was.
sorry if I jumped in, guys, but I couldn't resist.
It's all good.
Okay, no worries. Right, I'm going to introduce a new thing. So this is a bit of a milestone, Stu, because it's your show today. And that is because I've struggled that the questions have been too difficult. I've introduced something that plays to these guys' strength, that being Anthony, Dean, and maybe the listeners. And I'm going to introduce sport time questions. Okay, so this is about sports.
Okay.
This is courtesy of wickedvid.com's sports desk editor, Kev Knight. So bless him. I got on the phone. I said, Kev, I need some sport ones, come on, help me out. And he was kind enough to write these out. So I've got 3 questions, getting more difficult as they go through. First one, what does NFL stand for?
NFL, you said? National Football League.
Okay, question 2. In September 2014, the San Francisco 49ers moved into their new capacity 70,000 stadium called the Levi's Stadium. What was the name of the former home stadium?
Candlestick Park.
And do you know when Candlestick Park was built?
I'm going to guess around 64, 60, 62.
I agree with you. I would have said Candlestick Park was built around the time Shea Stadium in New York was built, right?
Yeah.
I would say the early 60s, right, Stu?
Yeah, that's
Candlestick?
what I would say.
Yeah.
Anthony?
I don't know on that.
Yeah,
Pass on
that's
that
out
one. Before me.
that's out of Anthony's league.
okay.
You've got to get more in music with him.
Okay, so I'll try that. I'll have to add that.
Was
to
I
it.
right? Was I right?
It was 1958.
Oh, wow. They moved right
Yes.
into it.
Yes.
When they moved over there. Okay.
I should have.
I should have said that. We should have.
I should have guessed that with the Polo Grounds.
Yeah.
And another dear friend of mine is the great Hall of Famer from Puerto Rico, Orlando Cepeda.
Oh, really?
The baby bull, Cha-Cha,
Yeah.
great friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, if it wasn't for Orlando Cepeda, I would never have met the likes of my dear friend Barry Bonds.
I remember when you told me about that.
Then it was back during those days when a good friend of mine, Dusty Baker, who's now currently, he was a great baseball player and currently great manager for the
Nationals.
Washington Nationals.
Yes,
So if I didn't say 62 or 64, I would have said 58, 59.
How did you get to know these great baseball players?
Well, that's a good question
I've
you're
been wondering
bringing
about
up.
that.
I got a great classic story about that. It goes back to pretty much 1979. when I first started working full-time at Twin Lab. I'll never forget it. A call came into the company, and it was from Orlando. He had called my dad. Back in those days, he took the call as founder and president of the company. And he took the call, and Orlando says, "I'm Orlando Cepeda, a baseball player." And he said to Orlando, "Listen, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I don't know who you are."
Oh, boy.
That I've lost my interest in following baseball ever since the Brooklyn Dodgers left Brooklyn. My dad lost, but he said, "I do have a son that is an avid baseball fan." And I took the call. Then it was transferred. And Orlando was so gracious. He wanted to compliment that for all these years, how our nutritional products made a difference in his life.
Wonderful. And
the rest is history. I met him at Yankee Stadium one day. We've been friends for 35 years.
Wow.
Ria's had an opportunity to experience conversations about a bar mitzvah and a bat mitzvah. Even our senior correspondent writer, Scott Morrell, who's now part of the show and writes pre-show and post-show summaries, he happened to be the unbelievable caterer at my children's bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah. So it's unbelievable what's happening here. But Orlando was first introduced to Judaism by attending my children's bar and bat mitzvah. And even in his biography and book, he mentions being at my kids' traditional bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. He got up and lit candles at both of them.
Wow. It
was just an unbelievable experience. And it's because of Orlando Cepeda, who is one of the greatest of all time. He was very close with Roberto Clemente before he passed away on that tragic plane crash. I've had a chance to be with the entire Clemente family since then, and all the people that we've been introduced to was by way of Orlando. Wow. So many athletes and celebrities took our products, and that's how we met.
Well, I love baseball. That's kind of how we first connected, and so I love that story. That's a great story.
So besides Barry Bonds, I'm looking forward to in the future we will have Orlando on the show, and
awesome.
And I'm expecting to have Dusty Baker, just a terrific man. Great guy.
I'm sure he is, although, he's he's working for the enemy now because as a Met fan, I just wish the Nationals would lose. Wish the Mets would win.
Stu is I don't know if you know what baseball is, Rhea. I know I challenge you all the time with sports. Like we did the other day with basketball, but Stu, people here are nuts in New York. They're either just a nutsy New York Yankee fan or a Met fan. So Stu is a huge Met fan, and that's why when I brought up Dusty Baker, who's the manager of the Nationals, he is the arch fierce competitor down in Washington, D.C. against the Mets.
Yeah, and my father was a brokenhearted Dodger fan, and I told him, I said, with Jordan living in L.A., it's a kind of an L.A. adopted, would you be all right if I rooted for the Dodgers? And I actually haven't had the courage to ask him that yet. He has more hatred for the Dodgers and Walter O'Malley than I've ever known him. I've never known him to have hatred in his soul ever, except you mention Walter O'Malley's name and he'll start cursing.
Well, I know that you have an unbelievable personal passion for sports, and you and I have spent hours many times kibitzing and talking about sports. So as I said, this show could go on for 4 or 5 hours. You're going to have to come back another time. We're going to bring it back over to Rhea.
Sorry, Rhea, we digress.
You don't have to apologize to her. She's okay.
All right.
Okay. But Rhea, come on in. What else do you have for us today?
Hey, no problem, guys. The idea was to create dialogue, so it's all good, all good. Question 3, part 1. When did the New York Giants last win the Super Bowl? All the silence.
Wow. No, I remember when it happened. I just can't. The years just meld. I mean, what was the year?
Wow.
Oh, wait a second. I should be able to figure this out. I have to think about what year we're in now. I mean, between my 3 kids and my job and everything, I just this has been a lot harder. I don't know, 12? Was it 12? 2012? I don't remember.
I was gonna say It was against the Patriots,
Yeah,
right? New
yeah,
England Patriots.
yeah.
I would have said 11 or 12, 2011 or 2012. That's what I would have said.
Football's always tricky because the season is in one year and then the Super Bowl's in another
How
year.
close are we, Rhea?
Would you like the answer?
Surely.
It was 2012.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Nice.
It was February the 5th,
Wow,
2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, and just to step it up so you've got the knowledge,
Stu, we just won a dinner to the Dean Blechman show just now. I'm guessing that.
Oh, really? What do we serve? Well, by the looks of this table, it's a TV dinner.
and the final step up of difficulty, does anybody know the final score?
I
Oh,
would,
wow.
there was a time I remember final scores of Mets games and Islanders games. I went to when I was a child, but as I get older, football's tougher because the scores are just more varied. I have no idea what the score of the game was. I know it was close. I know it was close,
but I don't remember the score.
Yeah.
What was it, Rhea?
It was 21 versus 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So we're just getting a feel for positioning, how difficult these questions are. So they weren't too bad, were they?
They're great. Fun. I love that stuff.
Okay. So now I'm going to take you out of the comfort zone. You're going into on the spot.
Okay.
And on the spot today is about creating awareness as more than knowing the answers. So you just have to take a stab at the dark in this.
Sure.
And as you're a principal, I'm sure you'll be geared up for this, Stu.
Okay.
Right, here we go. It's about the European Union. How many countries are in the European Union?
Well, I know it's one less than it was about 2 months ago.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, Britain hasn't. We haven't even begun to leave yet.
Well, that's true.
I just thought I'd get that there.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
any guesses? Stab in the dark. How many countries in the EU? Oh, the silence.
No,
gonna
I'm
go-
counting on my fingers. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to say I feel like this is a number I should know, but I'm going to say 12.
You had to go.
It's got to
Stu,
be
and that's
higher
what-
than that, huh?
Wow.
It's got to be like.
What's the
closer to
number,
20.
Rhea? What? Anthony says 20.
Well, I heard a 20.
Yeah, 20.
Oh wait,
it's got to be.
Okay, here it comes. It is 28.
28. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
Right. Okay, and here's some other ones. You just
Now I'm
gotta know-
embarrassed.
Boy,
Now I'm embarrassed.
Stu, I hope tomorrow you don't get a phone call from the head of Board of Education for your school.
Well,
I think I'll say-
I was never.
Okay,
Whatever.
Here's the next question. How much does the UK pay the European Union every week? So it's a guess.
Wow.
$5
And
million.
no guesses.
$5 million.
How many?
$5 million a week.
We've got a 5. Any other bids?
I have no idea.
Because I have no idea, I'll just agree with Anthony.
Yeah, all I know is my daughter Allison's trying to get through on the phone right now. So
When you had some easy ones as well, it was,
Go ahead.
we pay 350 million a week to be part of it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right. So it's about raising awareness. The next one is how much is the EU in debt? Any guesses?
Trillions.
You know what the US
It's got to be
is?
trillions.
Oh, the U.S.?
It is trillions.
No, the EU.
Oh, the EU.
We're at
Yeah.
19 trillion, so they got to be at least half of that, I'd say.
Oh, well done, Anthony. It's 12.
Okay.
12 trillion is what the
trillion.
EU is in debt, which is 25k per capita head. We're in the UK, 61k per capita
Wow.
head.
Crazy.
And here's the guesstimate question that I'm leading to. There are executives in the European Union that earn more money than the British Prime Minister. How many do you think earn more money than the British PM? 1, 2, 3. How many do you think?
Hundreds.
Yeah, I would think.
Hundreds.
Yeah, you got the president here that earns 400K, and you got executives. You got probably thousands of executives that earn more than 400,000 a year here in the States. So it's got to be not probably thousands there too in the UK, right?
I would think so.
So it's how many
I mean-
execs in the European Union earn more than the British PM?
In any industry, just executives, period, that live in the European Union.
No. Who work for the European Union?
Oh, that's different. That changes it.
That changes the landscape now, guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how your system works there. So these are politicians in the EU.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and just execs sort of thing. So you ready for the answer, or do you have any guesses?
Just for fun, I'll say 0. That he's the highest paid.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Well, that's obviously not right then, because
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know.
Okay, we're bailing out. It is 10,000.
Wow.
That's
People
crazy.
that work for that work in the EU earn more, 10,000 more. Wow.
Rhea, amazing number.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's about you guys really don't do Europe over there, do you? So the idea was to bring a little bit about the European Union.
Wow.
Really.
No, that is interesting. That's fascinating.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so into the let's question it topic, which is a little bit controversial, but not too controversial. And here it is. Do you think it's right for the US government to police other countries in the world? Open floor, guys. Away you go.
I mean, I'll get started on this question. You know, my feeling, Rhea, is that I feel that the United States should have the right, to stay involved and have contact with other countries in the world. I feel that this great country we live in, America, is generally very positive values, democracy, personal freedom, and federalism. Here in America, we're given, excellent quality of life, and the power we have. I feel it is, it's our duty for and as Americans for us to defend our way of life. In our world today, it's almost or near impossible not to have foreign affairs with other countries. It's very important for leaders from different nations to communicate every day and to avoid all sorts of, conflicts. If we as a country, America, stop getting involved with other countries' business, then we won't be able to help other countries. That's how I feel.
Well, the question
Okay,
was
anybody else?
the question was to police other countries.
Correct.
Yes.
Look, one of the things I try and avoid is having an opinion on things I don't know much about. So, the safe answer is if if it's appropriate, I guess. If not, I don't know how much of. I mean, I do question the appropriateness of some of our presence in other countries and what the motives are. I mean, I think motives, as I mentioned earlier, are very important. If the motives are to help maintain peace and then probably I think I wonder how much of it though is us pushing our agenda on other countries. I just don't know. I mean, I agree in theory with what Dean is saying, though. I mean, I think as a country, we do have an obligation as the richest country in the world to be helpful, and being a presence is probably part of that. But I really don't know. That's just kind of how I'm inferring from whatever information I do have.
Anthony, anything you want to say about Rhea's Let's Question It segment?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that, I'll try not to go off the handle on this, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, considering following kind of geopolitical events and the world economy and such. And I mean, you look at the state of the world now and you wonder why so many countries hate us. And I think a big reason for that is because we get so involved in everybody's business. And I think to some extent, and even to use the analogy with you being a principal at a school, it's if a bunch of bullies are gonna beat up a kid on crutches, hopefully other children would step in and protect that child, right? But you have people in power here that use that, well, America's great and we have to get involved with these other countries that are being bullied or that maybe need us, like Iraq with the weapons of mass destruction. And then we go in there and, there are no weapons of mass destruction. But what's there? There's oil, right? We you know, putting in our quote unquote democracy, which is really our corrupt central banking system, just so we can control the people in these countries. So I feel that our powers are misused to police these other countries in the world. So I don't really think it's a good thing. I don't think it's grown into a good thing, because I feel like the powers that we have are just totally misused to push our agenda and like you had mentioned. So I really think that, you know, we reached a point now we should let everyone just kind of handle their own issues, unless it's something that's, you know, like in Haiti where they had the earthquake and they needed our help, or, you know, something like that.
Rhea,
Hey, guys.
anything else on your end?
No, that's fantastic. There's three differing opinions, aren't there? And that was what it was about. It was just bringing it out there and having a listen. And people have different opinions, so it's just airing those. That's great, guys. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to put you back in the hot seat with a few questions, Stu, just to remove the tension in the room. Okay, so this one's for you, Stu.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about outside of work?
Well, my life right now is work and my kids, my family. I'm very passionate about the the philosophy and the process of how I raise my children. My wife and I we talk about it a lot. It's pretty much the dominant conversation, the health and well-being and how they navigate this world, and how much do we guide, how much do we push, how much do we just let them discover on their own. And I would say that, but for fun passions, I love the movies. I love talking to Jordan, my oldest, about movies. He gives me a whole new perspective on it. And just enjoy trying to be mindful of the moment.
That's a lovely answer. And question 2.
Yeah.
What really winds you up?
What winds me up? Well, right now, Donald Trump's doing a good job.
Still, the only thing is we don't have a couple of hours right now to talk about. You got to come back another time.
You don't even need a couple hours to talk about how it is what it is.
Would you like to do that show all by yourself, or would you like me? You know, I know Donald. Would you like me to invite Donald J. Trump onto the show? Would you like to be with him, or do the show by yourself?
I would like to be alone in a room with him.
Okay.
With no microphones.
Okay.
But what winds me up? I don't know. I try not to get wound up. I will say that when people do when they do wrong to other people, that really bothers me a lot. I would say, and in my profession, we sometimes see that, whether it be an abusive parent, sometimes, or a colleague, or you know, stuff like that. I mean, again, it's a whole nother couple of hours, but the way New York State Education Department functions and Governor Cuomo, and there's a whole bunch of political aspects to what they're doing to public education. But, you know, those people who are listening, they'll know what I'm talking about. Those who don't, that's fine.
Okay, and then the next one, what really makes you laugh?
What really makes me laugh? I try to laugh as much as possible. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to.
You're digging deep for this one.
Well, it's just like it's hard to just kind of find something. I mean, I laugh at my own jokes especially when no one else does. Thank you for see, Dean didn't laugh, Anthony didn't laugh, but you chuckled. Thank you very much. That was very polite. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing like a little kindergartner walking into my office and saying something like adorable. We laugh. I mean, I love little kids, and the things that come out of their mouth are just awesome. My middle son Zachary has got a wicked dry sense of humor, and he probably makes me laugh more than um, a lot of other people. And he tries to be funny. Some kids don't try to be funny; they're just funny. But he cracks me up. He's got a very interesting yet logical view of the world that my wife and I hope he uses one day. We think he will.
That's lovely. And finally, what advice would you give to a young person leaving school to put their best foot forward?
Well, just to build on when Dean and I talked about that, I would say you find that thing that you love and you give everything you have that you could possibly give to it. Especially for a young person starting out. I mean, it's, with age comes wisdom, as we know. And, I can look back on my, early 20s and go, oh, I wish I knew then what I know now and I would have done more. But so it's like, how do you get young people to understand that enough to do it? And because I try not to live with any regret, and I wouldn't want one of my kids to have regret down the line. And I think that's a biggie. And sometimes life is hard. It's hard. There are obstacles to get over. And that's one of my messages always to parents is when your kid struggles, you have to celebrate that because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow. And I would say that to young people, especially, because it's really it's hard to see the other side of that struggle. Struggle is a good thing.
Wow, it's so true. So true. Rhea, Anthony, anything else?
You're gonna have to come back for another show because I'm dying to hear your take on the genderless bathrooms. But that could go on.
That's a separate show by itself.
Well, to me, that's a simple.
In schools.
Oh, in schools.
Yeah.
I mean, within the context of the transgender issue.
Yeah.
I think they should. I mean, I'm pro whatever a transgender feels they are. I mean, it's pretty, to me, it's a simple answer. I mean, I have not experienced that in the elementary school. I know in high schools that exists more. It certainly could happen early on, but we would just deal with it as it comes. Very important to meet individual kids' needs. Very, very important.
Anthony, we're gonna have a show on that subject and topic just by itself with people coming in here in the studio. A really exciting show. I'm not going to tell you when yet, but I'm lining it up.
Very cool. Very cool.
Anything else, Rhea?
I think that's it, guys. That's it. I've got the news to do, but as time's run on, I've got no problem with not doing the news. But it's the ball's in your court, Dean. Back to you.
It's up to you, Rhea. I'd love to hear some news that you have.
Okay, so I'm going to sigh through this. Today, Barclays have been fined. British Bank. Barclays BLC agreed to pay $1 million to 44 US states to resolve an investigation into interest rate manipulation by the British Bank. They've been manipulating the markets again, the LIBOR rate, etc. And then they were fined in 2012 for the similar kind of thing, but that was 290 million. And no one goes to prison. It's not a good thing. It's not a good precedent. And when I was looking for information on this, because it was a clip I just caught, so I had to go digging for it. And I typed in the major search engine, Barclays and fined, just to bring and reduce the search. But from there, I ended up going down quite a few pages, and there's just this long list of what these banks do. And in this case, it was Barclays, but it could have been anybody, HSBC, JP Morgan, wherever, da-da-da-da-da. And they're just doing it all the time, and nothing seems to happen to them, which is, it raised the alarm bells even more. So that was something that happened. Barclays ripped off a bunch of states in America kind of thing. And then I would like to go over to some news that I don't think you're getting in about the South China Seas in the US. I would just like to play you a clip of something that went out, and have a quick listen to this.
Breaking alert now. China's defense chief has called on the military to get ready for combat. This story comes to us courtesy of Sputnik News. They are reporting that in a sign of growing escalation, China's defense ministry has called on the country's military, police, and general population to be ready to defend the territorial claims in the South China Sea.
There you go.
Wow.
It's warming up a little
Wow.
bit down there, isn't it? I don't know if you've had that in the US to that degree.
No.
No, I'm not surprised at all. So there's a heads up there. It's not fresh off the press on the other parts of the world, but I think as it gets censored into the US, they're not letting you hear that kind of thing. I have some news that affects everyday, that affects everyday people, but this does affect everyday people. It's regarding Android phones. I found this serious security flaws that could give attackers complete access to a phone's data have been found in the software used in tens of millions of Android devices. The bugs were uncovered by checkpoint researchers. This is what they do, that they look for security issues and so on. Looking at software running on the chipset by a US firm. I won't name the firm, but these are the phones that could be affected. So I'm just going to whiz down these. If you have one, they're not expecting the attacks yet, but in the few months, I would love to have the solution for you, but I don't have it. But it's worth knowing for you to have a look for your good selves to see if solutions are out there. But the phones affected are the BlackBerry Priv, the DTEC 50, the Black Phone 1, the Black Phone 2, the Google Nexus 5X, Nexus 6, and Nexus 6P, the HTC One, HTC M9, HTC 10, the LG G4, the LG G5, and the LG V10, the new Moto X by Motorola, OnePlus 1, OnePlus 2, OnePlus 3, Samsung Galaxy S7, and the Samsung S7 Edge, and the Sony Xperia Z Ultra. So that if you've got one of those, you just need to have a look around to see if there's any solutions around to solve this problem, because this news is out, and if the baddies have got a hold of it, you could be facing a problem pretty soon. I also found out as well that there was a big meeting. It was in the general media that you guys, I don't think, will have heard of, where the governments arranged a meeting with the big media and the big press to get a handle and censor information being passed around the world. And the problem that they're facing is one of, say, the US wants to go to another country and say, oh, things are going really well on our end, we want to help you, trade deal, whatever. But then you've got regular people talking to each other on social media saying, no, that's just not the case. Well, they really want to stop that. And there is an organization in the US called the Council of Foreign Relations. Now, I'm going to wind you back to the beginning of the 1900s, when the Council of Foreign Relations, who is responsible for censoring your news in the US. Have a quick listen to this clip. This is the organization that's kind of behind this as well. So this was part of the meeting. Have a quick listen. This is old.
The year is 1917, and Representative Oscar Callaway enters a disturbing statement into the U.S. congressional record. The statement reveals why J.P. Morgan interests hired 12 high-ranking news managers. The 12 were asked to determine the most influential newspapers in America. They were to figure out how many news organizations it would take to control generally the policy of the daily press of the United States.
So those guys were there,
Wow.
driven by the governments. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook were all called together to get a handle on this, because they want to control what you and I get to hear. And out the back of that, I've been waiting for some time to find out what measures were going to be taken. Were they going to go full George Orwell and kind of do that thought crime, start playing tricks on words? And sure enough, they are. And the only thing I can pick up about this huge meeting was the way they're going to go about censoring individuals from talking to other people around the globe about what's actually going on in their lives. They're going to start to go for character assassination. And if they catch you doing this, the new term, this is fresh off the press, mind, they're going to call it information troops. So they've now put the word troops next to information, which in turn implies military, which in turn implies extremism, terrorism, so on. So this is a new term. It's not out there yet, but keep your ears to the ground. This is some of the ways that they're going to change the way people communicate by labeling them information troops. There you go, guys. A bit off the mainstream, but that's what I found out this week. Back to you, Dean.
Thank you very much, Rhea. Appreciate it. As I close out the show, I just want to say to my guest, Stu Pollak, I've known a lot about you over the years and what kind of person you are. And I'm so honored that you took some valuable time out. I know how busy your schedule is to what I know about you, to be able to come on my new radio show that's only 2 weeks old and to give my listening audience and obviously the great people that I shouldn't say work, that are a part of the show. Rhea and Anthony, just class acts. I know that they've enjoyed this thoroughly, and everybody in the world that you've touched over these last 30 years, whether the families, children, your own children, you've been a unbelievable inspiration, and thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you. That was very, very, very kind. I was honored to be here. I'm thankful. It was a lot of fun. I never did anything like this before, so it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that I hope somebody out there finds it interesting. That's what all I'm hoping.
Stu, as I told you, I've only been doing this. This is for 2 weeks now, so it's all new to me too. And
you're doing a great job. It's fun.
It's fun, and I think as I try to do with every single show, is I want to make a difference in people's lives, and if we could inspire, educate, and with every show have some humor, we're gonna have a great time, and we're gonna have a lot of people that want to listen to the show.
Cool. And I use my if I could just put a little plug, if people want to, I use my Twitter, my professional Twitter account, Principal Pollak, Pollak. There's no C in Pollak. And I post things that are that resonate with me, articles, anything to do with kids and parenting and school leadership. Check it out. I also have a blog online that I haven't written in a long time, but there's stuff up there, and it's principalpollak.wordpress.com, and some of those got some pretty nice coverage. One in particular hit about 50 or 60 countries around the world. I wouldn't say viral by any stretch, but check that out. You look at, if you're interested in anything I said, then I'd love to get that stuff out there.
You are welcome back anytime. I know you've got a host of topics that we didn't get a chance to cover here.
Yeah, my pleasure. It'd be my pleasure.
You're welcome to come back, and look forward to seeing you at Starbucks in the near future.
I will be seeing you at Starbucks, Dean, I am sure. And Anthony, it was a pleasure, and Rhea, it was wonderful.
In closing, as always, they're the glue that works with me every day here at the Dean Blechman Show. I want to thank Anthony and Rhea, as always, dear friends, and just incredible people that help make it all happen here at the show. So I want to hear from all of our listeners that can reach out to us with the free text number for U.S. residents, which is 631-372-8849. That's 631-372-8849. We'd like to hear from all of you. Include your name and location, and we will mention you on the show. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and to hit the subscribe button on the show's YouTube channel. If you would like to leave a comment, use the box below. If you would like to share your story, any ideas, and even be a guest on the show, please go to deanblechman.com and email me. Once again, I would like to thank all my listeners out there today for being with us. Until next time, have a great day.
You've been listening to The Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.